Hello, welcome back everybody to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we are breaking down the NBA playoffs today. We just finished breaking down the Western Conference. To go back to that first segment if you want to hear about that. In this segment coming up, we are going to talk about the Eastern Conference. I think every single matchup that we know so far is really intriguing. The Eastern Conference has some of my favorite matchups in the playoffs. The 1 and 2 seed, we'll talk about that as well. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, leave a tip or donation. When you leave that tip or donation, it'll have you leave a message. That message will pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, everybody else around the world that is watching to see. If you do leave a message, you can control what we talk about on that show. On the show, anything you would like, any burning question, any thought, we will have a discussion about it. All you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, that link on screen right now, and leave a tip and donation. We appreciate anything that you do give, and we appreciate you guys for watching. But like I was saying, we are going to talk about the Eastern Conference playoffs. We're going to break down the games we do know. We're going to talk a little bit about the Eastern Conference standings as well. So let's just get right into it. The 1 seed is the Boston Celtics. We've known that for quite some time. The Celtics have had the best record in the league, the best record in the East forever. They've run away with this 1 seed. It was never in doubt. They are going to play the 8 seed, which again could be any of those play-in teams. The Knicks have the 2 seed, and what really was interesting, because you have a situation where Milwaukee was holding that 2 seed for forever, and then they go through this awful stretch down this after the All-Star break where they couldn't catch a break. Giannis goes down in a game against the Celtics down the stretch. He is expected to not play in the beginning of their playoff series. We'll get into that and how that affects their series in just a second. It's kind of a disaster for the Milwaukee Bucks, and it sets up for really bad news for them. They go ahead and they trade for Damian Lillard. But the Knicks are able to slide in. They are down Julius Randle, OG Anunoby as well. They sneak into that 2 seed. They're going to play either the Heat or the 76ers. Whoever wins that game tomorrow will move into New York, play Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. We just talked about how strong of a Western Conference it is in what's a really weak East. You have the Celtics, and then you have everybody else. Everybody else in the East is separated by less than 5 games, that's at least in the playoffs. 1 through 7, 1 through 8 even, I believe, are really close together. A couple of shots go the other way in some of these games. A couple players play one more game instead of resting. Maybe we have completely different matchups, completely different 2 seed, completely different play-on teams. It's really close in the East, and it's not great. It's jumbled up. It's the Celtics, and then it's everybody else down here. So, Celtics are the favorite to come out of this. It would probably be a disappointment. No, it would definitely be a disappointment if the Boston Celtics did not get out of the East this season. Their starting 5 is leagues. It's like a super team. You have Jason Tatum. You have Jaylen Brown, these 2 supermax players. You go out and you get Kristaps Porzingis. Excuse me. You go out and you get Kristaps Porzingis. You go out and you get Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, who just signed another extension. 4 years, a bit of an overpay, but whatever works to get you that championship. Boston is so desperately needed for some time now. It's in Derek White in there as well. Al Horford coming off the bench. That team is stacked top to bottom. It is an incredible roster that they're put together, and it shows. They have one of the best defenses in the league. They have one of the best offenses in the league. You take a look by offense, they have the best offensive rating, and defensively, they're second. They're the only team in the league to even be close to those metrics together. And there's a reason that they're up there. There's a reason that they're title favorites. There's a reason that it would be a disappointment and honestly a kind of failure of a season if they didn't win the East. Unless something happens, I'm knocking on wood here. unless something happens with injury, it would be a disappointment for them not to get out of the East. They are by far the best team there, but let's look at let's look at these matchups we have, because like I said, these are really, really intriguing matchups. They might not have the same level of, oh, they might make a deep run, but they are really intriguing matchups as we go into the East. Milwaukee is taking on the Pacers. Milwaukee, without Giannis, at least for the beginning of the series. There's a chance he'll be back. I think it depends on how well they start the series against the Pacers. The Pacers, if you remember, had one of the hottest starts to the season. They were up there in the East. They cooled down around the All-Star break, and they've been quietly heating up down the stretch again. They are a 6th seed here, but you match these two teams up. They've had some really, really incredible battles this season. You remember back to the tournament, the NBA in-season tournament. There was some beef there. There was the whole fight between the Bucks and the Pacers for the ball after Giannis went off against them in that one game. The Pacers have won 4 out of the 5 times they've played. The Pacers have kind of had their number. It's been a really fun series. There's a little bit of beef there, which always makes it more intriguing in the playoffs. You kind of got a dream scenario in these playoff matchups in the East. If you're looking to get entertainment value out of this, you get, already some kind of beef between the Bucks and the Pacers there. They had that fight earlier in the season, and it's going to be fun to watch. These teams, it's not like they hate each other, but something boils over. It's always more intense in playoff basketball. Something might occur. There's always that chance of that. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. But outside of that, these two teams both play the same kind of team. Play the same kind of style. We talked about in the West the opposing styles of Minnesota and Phoenix. How Minnesota is defense and Phoenix is offense. Both of these teams play the same. Both of them don't have great defenses. The Pacers, if we look by defensive and offensive efficiency, have the 24th best defense. The Bucks have the 19th. But then when we go to the offensive side of the ball, the Pacers have the 2nd best offense and the Bucks have the 6th. So this is going to be a high-paced, high-scoring game. I mean, you can just go back and look at the scores of their games earlier in the season. I mean, 142 to 130, 140 to 126, 126 to 124. They're putting up at least 250 points a game. These teams are scoring in droves, putting up bucket after bucket after bucket. If you like that kind of basketball, this is going to be the series to watch for you. I think in a series like this, especially with how hot the Pacers have been down the stretch and how cold the Bucks have been, and missing Giannis, and that's not to say that Damian Lillard, who has been really good without Giannis this season, he's been able to step up and take that role like he did in Portland, putting up 30 points, 8 assists a game. It's not like he's slacking off. He's playing great. It's just the defense is not there without Giannis. And the defense already wasn't there with Giannis. But without him, they don't have that big presence on the inside that's deterring people from driving a little bit. Giannis is really an underrated defensive player. And that's not to say that he doesn't get his love on defense, but he's not talked about as one of those scary people to go up against on defense, or at least he hasn't been recently. He's still the Greek freak. He's still this huge, long guy that kind of like the way that Wemby is on defense, can disrupt you from halfway across the floor. He has that kind of length. His wingspan is incredibly large. It's really, really cool to see him play defense. But he's going to go up against a team that has one of the best offenses in the league, and Giannis is not going to be there, so they're not going to have that inside presence. They have Patrick Beverley, who's always a pest, but he's not going to single-handedly win you a game. He's going to be annoying, he's going to be intense, but it's not the guy that you want anchoring your defense. My goodness, I apologize. He's not the guy you want anchoring your defense. When you have a guy like Tyrese Halliburton who's getting his shooting stroke back, you have Pascal Siakam, who they traded for. The Pacers are a really, really good 6th seed, and I think without Giannis, at least, I'm expecting he's not going to play for the first 2 games at least. I think the Pacers will split those 2 games, and then Giannis will attempt to come back. He's not going to be 100%. And I think the Pacers are going to be able to take this series because Giannis isn't there. If Giannis is there, if Giannis plays 5 games in this series, I think they can win. And I think that's the limit. I think he needs to play 5 games in this series minimum. Now, there's always a chance it doesn't even go 5. But I think that Giannis needs to be playing for 5 games for the Bucks to have a chance. Because Dame can steal a game or 2, but they're going up against a team that kind of just matches you. And Tyrese Halliburton can go shot for shot with Dame, especially this season. Both of them are putting up very similar numbers from deep. It's going to be fun. This is the offensive series for people that love offense. It's going to be so much fun. Giannis will come back. I have the Pacers winning this in 7. I think Giannis will come back after 3 games. Something happens, they go down 2-1, Giannis comes back. That's the thing I'm picturing in my brain. Gets it to 7. It's just not going to be enough. The Bucks are a very, very good team, and it is disappointing. They go out and they get Damian Lillard. I mean, they still have Chris Middleton, who is a really solid second option over there, and now a third. If he can shoot the ball, they'll have a shot. But it's really tough not having Giannis in this series. It's a really bad break for a team that kind of went all in. And they have at least another year of this, but they don't have that many assets to go get another guy. And there's some people on expiring contracts they're going to lose. It's tough. I have the Pacers winning this series in 7, and the other matchup. This one is also a lot of fun. You have, again, 2 pretty solid teams. 2 teams that kind of came out of nowhere. You have the Donovan Mitchell Cavs and the Orlando Magic. The Magic, every year there's that one team that comes out of nowhere. Last year was the Kings. They had that whole breakout season with De'Aaron Fox. Paolo Banchero is going off. That team is so much fun. They're pesky on defense. They're physical. They play hard. Cleveland is big, and they went on that incredible run in the middle of the season. You have Donovan Mitchell, you have Darius Garland, you have Jared Allen, you have the pieces. They had this last season, and then they ran into the Knicks, and it was just a brutal matchup for them. They just got out physical. They got bullied down low. They need to be able to be the bully, and the Magic aren't a great matchup for them. Like I said, the Magic are a physical team. I do think that Cleveland can take this. Cleveland was put in an opportunity where they could have gotten a 2 seed, but instead they purposely lost the last game of the season so that they wouldn't have to face the Sixers, so that they could face the Magic. They lost, they faced the Magic, and that's what they did. So they wanted the Magic. They need to win this game. They looked at the matchups and they said, this is the team that I want. We're going to lose seeding for this. We'll play the Celtics in the next round for this. It's worth it. They wanted the Magic. They get the Magic. They need to win this series. For them, I think they can do it. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than they think. Like I said, their biggest weakness last season against the Knicks is they were getting bullied down low. Julius Randle absolutely dominated them down low, and hopefully they learned from that. They didn't really make that many changes to their roster. Maybe they've made changes to the scheme, maybe they're going to make a change on their offensive or their defensive game plan, but they need to be able to control the paint. Whoever in this matchup between the Cavaliers and the Magic can control the paint or control the down low area is going to win this series. I have the Magic taking this series in 6. like I said, I think all 4 of the matchups that we know for sure are really, really good. I'm super excited for these NBA playoffs. I think they're going to be incredible. Um, I've got the Magic in 6, and I have the Pacers in 7. We'll see what happens in the play-in coming up in our next segment. But winning the East, I've got the Celtics. Winning the West, I have the Nuggets. So Boston, Denver in the finals. Jokic, Tatum, that'll be a fun matchup. In our segment coming up, we're going to talk about the NBA play-in tournament that starts tonight. The Western Conference games happen tonight. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up next on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.